can hop here. That's cool. Got it. So I'm just getting out of the shower. So I'm like, you know, you can't stop sweating fresh out of the shower. It's like, come on. All right, we're gonna shut this down. I'm gonna have to assume that it's working for now. I haven't changed any settings. Right here, done. Share my screen. Wait, let me check the chat real quick. We'll see. Okay, lose pages. Does it get? So the whole point is to gain access. So let me do an update about my math lab. Now, I'll speak on that in just a moment. Okay, I want to speak on extensions for the assignments as well. So I want to talk about accessing Pearson and extension on the assignments. Start the broadcast. Okay, optimize the video. And we're going to start here. Okay. Let's see. Let's go to view. Single page. Okay. All right, scholars. So welcome. Okay. Let me see. I guess I can do it here because I know that's showing. So let's see. So welcome to week 2, right? This is what? College Algebra 1 with online lab. So as far as updates, let me go ahead and address the 2 concerns that were in the chat when we started. So I know one student said, so basically the main point when it comes to accessing the assignments is you want to get full access to Pearson. Now you could either just go ahead and purchase it directly, right? I've seen, like in the past, it used to cost the students maybe $130. I saw something for about $160, right? I don't know. I know last week we said we encouraged everybody to get the 14-day temporary access, right? So on the page where we're prompted for payment, when we're registered for My Math Lab, at the bottom of that page, there's a link that says get 14 days of temporary access. So, you know, that's where we want to start, right? And we did that because last week before the start of class, we got an email saying that for us to encourage you all to get the 14-day trial because the administrators are negotiating like a price reduction, right? So you go ahead and get the 14-day trial so you can get started on your assignments. I think we had some assignments due last night, right? So we're going to talk about that in just a moment. So whatever you purchase, like I know some people have to use book vouchers. So you can use a book voucher from the Morehouse bookstore. Just make sure it comes with the unused My Math Lab access code. That's the main thing, is that you're trying to gain access to My Math Lab. My Math Lab is going to be the central hub of how we're going to be doing our online management as far as assignments, homework, quizzes, and exams. Okay, so that's the meat and potatoes. There is the main thing you need to get is My Math Lab access code, right? If you purchase any physical hard copy stuff, it's a good idea to get it brand new. The main thing is make sure it comes with a My Math Lab access code. You have to purchase access to that. There's no course ID. You access the assignments through Blackboard. I linked it into our Blackboard, so you have to log into Blackboard, and that's how you access our assignments. And then I know one student was saying that he was having like Wi-Fi issues. So again, all of our assignments have an automatic extension built into them, but there is a 10% late penalty. Now, right now, the penalty is minimal because only thing that's been due is like 1 homework and 1 quiz, right? So that's 1 homework out of maybe 18 assignments, give or take, right? And the homework and quizzes, the homework is only 10% of your overall grade. The quizzes are only 10%. So I say that to say, don't sweat the small stuff like this. I'm telling you right now, it's nominal. The main thing is just go ahead and get started. Take the little 10% hit. It's not gonna affect your grade at all if you're late. But the main thing is just to go ahead and get up to speed and get caught up. You don't want to get behind. With math, it's very easy to get behind. If you ignore it for like a week or 2, then you're trying to play catch up. You do not want to be in that boat. Especially, we have all the assignments for the semester available right now, with the exception of our exams, but all homework and quizzes are available right now. Additionally, all pre-recorded lectures for the semester are available. So if you want, you could actually go ahead and watch those lectures right now, take notes as if you're in class, and you can actually move ahead in the assignments. Like, you don't have to wait on me. The real structure of this course is that this is remote asynchronous, which means that Most of the learning is done independently on your own. And real intent is for this time to be like a Q&A or like an unofficial office hours, right? My official office hours are right after this class for 2 hours on Monday and Wednesdays. But again, most of the learning is done on your own. I know I had at least one student use to ask my instructor. I just didn't get a chance to reply. We can talk about it here or during office hours or whenever, or I might just go ahead and reply when I get into my office hours this morning. So again, to kind of recap on those main two components I know there were concerns in the chat. Whatever you purchase, the main thing is you want to make sure it comes with an unused MyMathLab access code. The recommendation is to basically go to Blackboard, click on that folder number. I think I made it item number 3 on assignments. You click there and you open up, you follow the first link that says all assignments. You open that up and then follow the prompts from MyMathLab. And instead of making a payment right now, at the bottom of that payment screen, there's a link that says get 14 days of temporary access. That's the recommendation for right now, while we give the administrators time to kind of finalize these negotiations to see what they're able to do. And then it's really no need to worry about late assignments. If you just, for whatever reason, can't submit it on time, there's only a 10% late penalty. So you can still earn an A- on anything that's late. And again, if it's just one homework assignment and one quiz, 10% of one assignment is not a heavy weight. There's nothing to sweat, right? Not like I'm sweating right now, right? The main thing is you just want to do your best to go ahead and get caught up. These sessions are being live streamed to my YouTube channel. So as my student, it's definitely a good idea to go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's Beautiful Mind Phifer. There are links on Blackboard at the bottom, right? So I think it's the 4th item. Also, that link takes you directly into the pre-recorded lectures. So when I start responding to like student homework inquiries and other little updates, it's a good idea. It's important to be subscribed to my YouTube with the notification turned on, because that's the main way I communicate. It doesn't cost you anything. And then as long as you can see the notification, a lot of times students are like, oh, I was talking that very same question. Let me watch that short or that clip or whatever. Or if you see it, it's like, oh, I get that. I'm past that part, right? So as long as the main thing is just awareness with that. As usual, let me see if there's anything else I need to mention. So that's it really. With those two concerns, that's pretty much where we are. Gaining access to MyMathLab and starting on those assignments with the 14-day trial. I hope everyone had a great weekend. You kind of were able to, knock the dust off your shoulders. So do what you needed to do. So for this week, our goal, like we really were supposed to do 1.1 last week, and I could rely solely on my pre-recorded lecture. But what I'm going to do is I'll do the best I can. We only got about like 30 minutes left in class today. So what I'm going to do is go ahead for today and work on section 1.1. And then on Wednesday, we'll work on 1.2, and that'll get us caught up. Let me check. Let me just check and make sure I don't have people in my waiting room. I know we had majority of the students on time. Let me get these two. So we did reach the 15-minute mark. Okay, there's that student. That's not right. I guess I need to go here, like this. This student, and I think it's this student. Let me check one more time. Nope, got that wrong. It's not that student. Him? Is that him? Okay, I see him now. This student. And I have to go back and put this one is Morehouse. Back here. So again, I typically only check my attendance like again at the start of class and then at the 15-minute mark. Let me let these gentlemen in. Because again, our time is very precious. So I'm doing the best I can to kind of be cognizant of time. Okay. So as usual, if you have questions about anything or if anything is not clear, feel free to unmute yourself. Does anybody have any questions? If you do have questions, feel free to keep it to yourself. I'm just playing. It was a poor joke, bad joke. If you do have questions, feel free to unmute yourself or type it in the chat. I do monitor the chat. Otherwise, we'll just kind of, how do I switch this? That's okay. It'd be nice if I could see both. I know it's possible. What if I go like this? Let me check the chat one more time.
I have a question.
Yes.
First of all, good morning.
Greetings.
My question is, so when we do get our exams, are those going to be asynchronous as well? Or do it like over the weekend,
okay.
or do we do it during class?
No, it's going to be asynchronous. So with the exams you can anticipate them to be released every multiple of 4. Every multiple of 4. So like, for instance, a week 4, you can expect exam 1, then week 8 and week 12, and then the final. And so when the exams do become released, you can gain like higher than 90% for the first 7 days, right? So you can expect exam 1 to be released at the beginning of week 4. You'll have access to it for 7 days. It's due more than likely that Sunday at 11:59. And you can actually, again, with all assignments, we get unlimited attempts. You can actually submit it past the due date, but then the highest you can earn past the due date is a 90% on any question submitted past the due date, right? So even if, like, suppose you submit your exam and we're past the due date, if you didn't earn higher than a 90, you're welcome to take it again, and the system is going to take your highest score. So you can take as many times as you want to maximize your score, okay? Okay, so with that, all right, I can't think of anything else. Again, we don't have a lot of time, so we kind of have to be deliberate about things that we do in this time that we do have together. I can't think of anything else, so let's take some time to make our way through, this is what, College Algebra 1. So we're gonna start off chapter 1, graphs and functions, with section 1.1, graphs of equations. So this is our first official lecture. If you missed last week for whatever reasons, it's probably a good idea at the end of class to bring it to my attention. So I'll mark it as excused because obviously it's the first week, right? So I'm not going to be super hard on attendance as far as that's concerned. And then also, I think we did get a recording, I think these are on my YouTube. So I try to put these. There's 2 main playlists on my YouTube that you want to be able to access. One are the pre-recorded lectures. And then 2, I made one playlist for all of my students for the fall of 23, right? So all these live sessions are put into
Morehouse.
I know I have at least one person trying to get into the Zoom. Okay, but we're gonna kind of let that be. So, okay, so section 1.1, graphs of equations, some objectives here. We like to plot points, and I bit my lip in the night, so that's part of it's totally distracting, and I keep biting it as I talk, and I'm but it's okay. It's life. I'm gonna assume that that's okay. So some objectives here. We like to plot points in the Cartesian plane. Actually, let me go like this. Looks good. I'll move you over here. Ooh. I don't know, it's it got extra hot out of nowhere all of a sudden. Heater is off. Okay. So plot points in the Cartesian plane. Find the distance between 2 points. Find the midpoint of a line segment. Sketch a graph by plotting points. Find the intercepts of a graph and find symmetries in a graph. And then find the equation of a circle. So again, we're not going to have time to get through all of this live together. That's where my pre-recorded lectures come into play, right? So whatever we don't finish together, I do expect you to watch those, take notes if you're in class. Write down any questions you have. You can either just email me those questions. It's probably best to just ask me during class, but you can email them. I can be kind of bad about responding to emails, so that's why I encourage you. You still want to email to have it on file, but if I don't respond timely, then just ask me the next time we're in session. If you haven't figured it out by then. So some definitions. We have an ordered pair of real numbers. It's a pair of real numbers in which the order is specified. So for instance, let's go with this. Okay. So for instance, the ordered pair x comma y, which is going to be this one's going to be -3, 1, right? So the order is important. So that means the first component is our x, and the second component is our y. So x is -3, y is 1, right? So that's why we call that an ordered pair. The ordered pair a comma b has first component a and second component b. 2 ordered pairs are equal if and only if the corresponding components are equal. So if you have x comma y is equal to a comma b, x equals a and y equals b, right? So again, if anything isn't clear, feel free to get my attention. The sets of ordered pairs of real numbers are identified with points on a plane called the coordinate plane of the Cartesian plane, right? So, when we have our graphs, positive x is in this direction, positive y is in this direction. When we're plotting points, we start at the origin, right? And then the ordered pair is like basically directions on the map, right? So if we start at the origin, positive x goes to the right, negative x goes to the left, positive y goes.
Morehouse.
Oh, I'm so glad they sent this email. So one other item is so I want to say this class has an online lab component, right? So we're using my math lab for our component. For the lab component, what you have to do is go to Blackboard, and on the left-hand panel, there's a link that says online Alex. You want to just click on that and you'll have information. You want to reach out to Dr. Lamar. She's the one facilitating the online labs, and you want to follow her instructions. When it comes to grading, whatever grade she gives me for each student, I'm just going to take that grade and scale it so that it counts for 10% of your overall grade. Okay. All right. Also for the XY plane, right? The flat surface. So when we take the x-axis and lay it perpendicular or at a 90-degree angle to the y-axis, right? It breaks the flat surface up into 4 quadrants, right? So the upper right-hand quadrant, we call that quadrant 1. So all of this going infinitely into the up and to the right. This is quadrant 1. Upper left is it kind of progresses, what is that, counterclockwise. So again, this is quadrant 1. This is quadrant 2. This, like all in this direction, is quadrant 3. All in this direction to the bottom right is quadrant 4, right? So again, the XY plane breaks the flat surface up into 4 regions. So quadrant 1 is upper right, and then we progress counterclockwise. Okay. And again, all this stuff I'm saying here live is already in my pre-recorded lectures. It's essentially the same thing. We refer to the point corresponding to the ordered pair A comma B as the graph of the ordered pair A comma B in the coordinate system. The notation P of AB designate the point P in the coordinate plane whose x coordinate is A and whose y coordinate is B, right? So sometimes we label points as P, A comma B, right? This is the point P where x is this number and y is this number, right? Hey, thank you. Go lay down. It's okay. Let's go lay down. Thank you. She hears people moving, so she likes to scream, right? Graph the following points in the XY plane. This one I feel like is not too difficult to do, so that's why I left all the details there. For instance, A is the order pair 3, 1. So that means start at the origin. We're going to go right 3 and then up 1. So if we go right 3 and up 1, you see A is plotted there. For B, we're going to go left 2 and up 4. So left 2, up 4, there's B. C is left 3 and down 4. So left 3 and down 4, notice C is there, so on and so on and so on. Right? And we're gonna be using this a lot, like pretty much the entire time. So this is light enough. I think you guys can follow this. Okay. So the distance formula in the coordinate plane. So we recall that the Pythagorean theorem states that in a right triangle with a hypotenuse of length C and legs of length A and B, A squared plus B squared equals C squared, right? So if we have a right triangle, meaning we have a 90-degree angle in the triangle, then the square of this side plus the square of this side equals the square of this side, right? Okay. All right, let's keep going. So then how do we generate the distance formula out of that, okay? I low-key want to give the backstory, but just for the sake of time, I'm not, right? But basically what it is, it's like, say, well, I'm going to kind of defer to my pre-recorded lecture for that, just because it kind of eats up a little bit of time that is kind of precious for us right now. So for right now, we're just going to kind of just take the formula as is. But I really want to kind of like derive it, but I don't want to eat up time. So let me see. So let P and Q be any 2 points on the coordinate plane. Then the distance between any 2 points is going to be given by this distance formula. I can't help it. Let's go through a brief. I just want to do a brief overview of where this formula comes from, right? So if we consider the XY plane, positive X in this direction and positive Y in this direction, and we consider 2 points, let me think about how I want to orient this. Okay, let's put the points here. That'll be our P. This will be our P, which is our X1, actually. X1 and Y1. Let's actually move P here. We'll label this one as P. Man, like this is so wild. Like I've been fine like all morning, then all of a sudden it just got like this. And then we'll let this be Q, right? Which is our X2, Y2, right? So say we want to find the distance between these 2 points, right? So then X1, so here's X1 on the X-axis, right? All right, so that corresponds to this here. X2 is here, this point here. And then I guess we can do this. So here's our Y1 here. And here is our Y2. Does this image look familiar? Right? We have a right triangle, right? So if we wanted to find the distance between P and Q, say we call this side A, we call this side B, and this side C. From Pythagorean theorem, we said what? A squared plus B squared equals C squared. But what's A? Let me just for the sake of the demonstration, let me move A over here and let me move B over here, right? But it would still work in the other way. All right, so say that was A, right? So then what's A? Well, A is what the distance between X1 and Y1. I mean X1 and X2, right? So that distance is, we can capture that distance. We can say that's going to be the absolute value of X2 minus X1, right? That distance. If we're plugging it into, so A is going to be that absolute value, and we're going to square that guy from the Pythagorean theorem. B is going to be the difference between the Y values. So we're going to say the absolute value of Y2 minus Y1. And again, in Pythagorean, we're going to square that. And then C is what we're trying to find, right? That's going to be the distance between P and Q, right? Okay. And that distance is going to be squared, okay? So then with a little bit of algebra, if we take the square root on both sides, and since we're talking about distance, we're going to take the positive result. If we square root both sides, then ultimately we'll get the distance between P and Q. It's going to be the square root of, now when we square an absolute value, because absolute value forces it to be positive, the square of a positive is itself, so we can essentially just lose the absolute values. This is going to be X2 minus X1 squared plus Y2 minus Y1 squared, and we're taking the square root of all of that. That's where the formula comes from, that narrative that we just experienced just now, right? And so I went on and took the time to do that because it is important to like you don't necessarily have to know where the formulas come from, but if you understand like the backstory or like where that formula came from, then it's a lot easier to remember. Like if you know A squared plus B squared equals C squared, and you get the connection between Pythagorean theorem and the right triangle created by 2 points, then you can kind of do this like little narrative to generate the formula, the distance formula, right? Or you could just commit the distance formula to memory. So whichever you prefer, either just commit it to memory. But what happens is in this course, oftentimes it's information overload, right? So if you're just trying to remember a rote set of formulas, that's one level. But to me, it's much easier to remember a story than a random string of numbers, right? It's much easier for me to remember this image with Pythagorean theorem and all of that versus just the straight formulas, right? And that kind of extends to like any formula, especially the ones that you're able to derive, right? Okay, so I just wanted to give a little bit of backstory on the distance formula. So you don't necessarily have to remember all of that, especially because we're not really in testing environments. The main thing is that you need to know how to use the distance formula for our purposes, right? And so here's a digital creation of what we just experienced, right? So how the distance formula connects to the Pythagorean theorem to find the distance between 2 points. Okay, so in this example, we're asked to find the distance between the points P and the points Q. We probably got some people in my waiting room. Let me check real quick to see if somebody's there. It looks like it kind of is. Okay, let me try to get the student. Let's see, present. Okay, I get him. Okay. Let me let him in. Let me check this real quick. Yes. Okay. And when you say missed, yes. Now, what are is it the QR code? Like what's creating the multiple links? Because there's only one meeting ID, but I'm thinking that maybe the QR code somehow got scrambled or something.
So for me, it was the Alex link as well. So if you go through course content, it'll show a Zoom link for Alex, but if you go to the homepage, it'll show the Zoom link for this one.
Yeah. Okay, I can see that. That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. No, Alex is something separate. So I'm glad because I was like I could not figure out like what was going on. And then there was another question as to. Is it possible to get ahead on the assignments? And yes, it's totally possible. If you wanted to get ahead and finish that stuff, I honestly recommend that. So like if you wanted to get ahead and finish the assignments for the semester, you're more than welcome to. You have the full lectures. Anything that I would say live is already recorded. And I think that's a wise move. That way you're only waiting for your exams. And this collegiate game, a lot of it is like about time management, your ability to organize, make a plan, and take action. So if you're given an opportunity to just finish this stuff, that's one less thing that you got to worry about. I totally would do that if that were me, right? But that's neither here nor there. We got a solid 10 minutes. And yes, the late penalty. I tried to automate the processes as much as possible. A 10% late penalty is not going to affect your grade, right? It's not, especially you get unlimited attempts. Not a 10% late penalty on one homework assignment and one quiz, where those are the homework for the semester is only 10% of your overall grade. The quizzes for the semester are only 10%, right? It's not, it's like a fraction of a fraction. It's a fraction of a percent, right? So as long as you get it submitted, like you get started this week and you get your stuff this week, honestly, you still have the potential to earn like 95, 96, 99. You can still earn like a high A, even if you're late on those assignments, right? Because otherwise it gets to be too much to try to like each individual student that was late, constantly all this back and forth. So I intentionally built it so that all the assignments have an automatic extension built into them. So we can kind of cut down the back and forth as much as possible. And again, a little hit on the first assignment, that's nothing. Like there's nothing to sweat, like I'm sweating, right? Okay. So here we're asked to find the distance between these points. Okay. So one of my professors would say he would encourage every time you use a formula, you want to write it down, right? That constant repetition of writing down the formulas is how we remember things, right? Whatever we do the longest, we do the strongest. Whatever we practice, we get really, really good at, right? If we like, I'm definitely guilty of practicing complaining. So I'm really good at complaining. It took me a long time to realize, like, hey, if something is bothering you, you need to be the one to straighten it out. It's catching my attention for a reason. More than likely, I'm the one that needs to straighten it out. So anyway, that's neither here nor there. Whatever we practice, we get really good at. Okay, so the distance formula, right? So let's go ahead and write it really quickly. So the distance between the points P and Q is going to be the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So again, every time we use our formula, may I encourage you to just write it down. That's how it becomes second nature, right? Also, whenever I get ordered pairs, like in this instance, I like to do the following. I like to just go ahead and label my points. X1, Y1, X2, Y2. And so when we go to do our substitutions, it just makes everything so much easier, right? So if we're finding the distance between P and Q, it's going to be the square root of, so now our X2 is 3 minus our X1 is -2. Notice my use of parentheses. Squared plus my Y2 is -4 minus Y1 is 5 squared. Okay. So all I did was substitute the corresponding components from the ordered pairs into the formula, right? Okay, so from here, double negative, right, becomes what? Positive. So then 3 plus 2, and I'll go ahead and capture that like this. So double negative becomes positive. So that becomes 5 squared plus -4 minus 5. What is that? That's going to be what? -9. So that's going to be a -9 squared. Okay. So then 5 squared is 25. 9 squared is 81. Right? What is that? 106? I think we can leave that as the square root of 106. Right? So that's the result that we got. Okay. So that's the exact result. Then we can use our calculator if we wanted a decimal approximation. I don't think that there are any perfect squares that come out of that. I think that's about the best we can do, right? If we wanted that decimal, we would use our calculator. Okay, so hopefully we're all aboard, and we're not all aboard. We're gonna hang out for like 5 more minutes, and then you'll be on your way. Let me see. Why did you put another set of parentheses, right? So the additional parentheses help us to keep track of our signs, right? If we don't put those parentheses, those additional parentheses, it's very easy to lose track of the signs. So that's an organization technique. I'm going to work another one, hopefully, where we do that again. And I usually do it a little bit different way, but for introductory purposes and the way I did it right now, I kind of wanted to do it that way. But again, the point of the parentheses was to help us to keep track of the signs. Without the parentheses, it's very easy to miss this double negative right here. Right? It's very easy to miss that. This one, it didn't really affect it, so I essentially just dropped those parentheses, but it did affect it here, right? That it did affect it. So we're going to have more cases where I'm going to introduce parentheses. I usually do it a little bit different, but I didn't want to do it in this one because it can be a little bit extra. Okay, that was a good question. Let me see the chat. Can I see the chat? There's another question. I think that's the one. Cool. We're looking good. All right, let's hang out for like 5 more minutes. So we got that one. Okay. That looks good. Let me see. Can I see the waiting room here? I don't think I can see the waiting room here. Okay. So then the midpoint formula. So here's another formula. So again, one of the main challenges, like with college algebra, especially since the augmentations that the institution has made to the presentation of this course, like they basically broke up the content into two semesters instead of one, right? So the stuff that we do in College Algebra 1 and College Algebra 2, in the past, that used to be one semester, right? So I think enough students, and this is not, the challenge with College Algebra is nothing that's unique to Morehouse. That's something like it's pretty much nationwide. Most institutions require College Algebra, and the average person just struggles with College Algebra, right? So I guess Morehouse decided to break it up into 2 semesters, which I think it was a good move. And so we honestly used to be doing 4 times as much material. They kind of cut the material in half and then took that half and broke it in half again, right? We actually used to do 4 times as much. Why did I bring that up? So I brought that up because the challenge with College Algebra is really, it's about being neat and organized and processing information overload. The concepts are not difficult, they're not hard, but it's a lot of information, right? And again, keep in mind that this is a fourth of the intensity and the pace that we used to do in the past, maybe about 6 years ago or so, just before the pandemic, but even a little bit before that. So I say that to say, this is actually our second formula that we're coming across. It's a good idea that in your notes, that, hopefully you're taking notes or you're at least pulling a copy of these notes. Anything that you see me writing, you can access it on Blackboard. There's going to be a folder, I think it's folder number 2 that says like notes or things of that nature. You click on it. It's a box link. You want to open it up and you'll find a copy of this after each session. So hopefully you're either pulling a copy of those notes and or you're creating your own notes and being neat and organized. Sorry, I keep having I think it's the breakfast I ate, but in your notebook, the recommendation is you have a formula sheet. So somewhere where every time you come across a formula, you update your formula sheet. This is like our second formula so far, right? So the midpoint formula, so that way, as you're kind of working, you're like, well, I know there's a formula. Which formula should I use? So now you can jump straight to your formulas. But if you're not neat and organized, it's not serving, right? You're going to be wasting your time. You might get the grade, you might move on, but this stuff is going to pop back up even when you leave this class. Even when you graduate, it's going to pop up at least once or twice. And then beyond that, then you might be okay, right? So moral of the story, hopefully you got a homework notebook, you're being neat and organized, and every time you come across a formula, you update your formula sheet with that new formula, right? So with this formula, this one is called the midpoint formula, and it says the coordinates of the midpoint for M, which is x, y, of a line segment joining 2 points P and Q are given by this, right? This whole thing that we have here. So the way that I remember the midpoint formula, to me, can anybody tell me, for instance, if I add up 3 things, I get an answer and then I divide by 3, what did I just find for those 3 numbers? Or if I add up 5 things, I get, and then what am I finding when I do that?
The average.
The average.
Right? Average.
So that's how I remember the midpoint formula. Because notice we're adding up 2 things and then dividing by 2. So for the midpoint formula, the way I remember it, the midpoint is going to be the average of our x's, comma, the average of our y's. That's just personally how I remember the midpoint formula. I think a student, somewhere in my journey, someone articulated it that way. I was like, that's fantastic. It's a simple way to remember it. So I borrowed it, okay? So the midpoint formula, average of the x's, comma, average of the y's. That's how we calculate. I think we have time to do one example, and then that's gonna have to be it. Here, we're asked to find the midpoint of the line segment, right? So again, every time we use a formula, it's a good idea to write it down. So the midpoint, let me see something. Okay. The midpoint is gonna be average of our x's, so x1 plus x2 over 2, comma, average of our y's, y1 plus y2 over 2, right? And so then also what I like to do is whenever we get an ordered pair, go ahead and label them. x1, y1, x2, that's an x, let's clean it up. Right here. x2, y2, right? So now let me showcase those parentheses like I did in the previous, right? So I'm gonna do it a little bit different this time. So now when I go to substitute the corresponding components, right? So then my midpoint is gonna be, so we're gonna say x1 plus x2 over 2, and then y1 plus y2 over 2, right? So first thing I did was replace each variable with a blank set of parentheses. And then what's going to go into the blank parentheses? The substitutions, right? So for instance, x1 is a -3, right? And let me do this. Let me do this color instead. x1 is -3, right? x2 is a +1. So I don't think it affected the signs here, so we're kind of in the clear there. Y1 is a 6, and y2 is 4, right? Again, it didn't affect the signs there. I'm watching the clock. I'm trying to get you guys out of here. All right. So we didn't have to do any distributing or double negative or anything like that. So we can essentially just lose those. But again, it does come into play in certain cases. Again, the parentheses just help us to keep track of the signs. So we're less likely to make a mistake. -3 plus 1 is going to be, that's going to be what? -2 over 2, comma, 10 divided by 2. Okay, that's going to be -1, comma 5. So those are going to be the coordinates of the midpoint, halfway between these 2 points, right? So if we were to plot these on a coordinate plane, this ordered pair should be halfway between the line segment joining those 2 points, right? Here we have a type version of what we just experienced, and we are going to have to use that. We're going to have to stop there because we're out of time. Are there any burning questions before we go our separate ways? Going once, going twice. Yes, go ahead.
I was unaware of the homework and the quiz from last week, week 1. I just signed into my Pearson and for the 14-day trial and stuff. So I can
Morehouse?
and
Yes.
I can still do it.
You can still do it, but there will be a 10% late penalty. So the highest you can earn on is a 90, but that's minimal right now. It's not going to affect you that much, like hardly at all. So yeah, just go ahead and submit those assignments. You get unlimited attempts at all assignments. All assignments have an automatic extension built into them. It's just that anything that's late is a 10% late penalty. But we've only had 2 assignments that were due last night.
Okay.
Any other burning questions? Yes.
Yeah. All right. So if I really wanted to, I could just do all the homework.
Yeah. You can go ahead and do the homework and the quizzes, and I would encourage it. And then that way you would only be waiting on, you would still need to show up and get your attendance credit. So I would just show up to the class and just kind of be chill. I usually don't hound you guys too much. As long as you're getting your attendance credit, you get your assignment submitted, And then the only thing you're going to be waiting for are the exams. The exams are a staggered scheduled release. So they come out every about 4 weeks or so.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Other questions, comments, or concerns? Going once, going twice? Yes.
Hey, good morning.
Greetings.
Good morning. So what was my thing? I just forgot my question.
It's okay. It's going to come back as soon as you stop trying to remember it. That's when it'll come back. And whenever it does come back, just reach out to me. You can email me or write it down. Just record it somewhere, and that way it'll.
I got it.
Oh,
so the labs with the other teacher, is that like a separate class, or like what is that?
Yes, that's a lab. Like that's totally separate, right? So like if we were in person, I would be doing like the lectures, right? The 15-minute lectures.
Okay.
And then you would have to go to a lab. So we basically just made both of those components remote. So I'm doing one thing for the lab. What the lab does with Alex, with Dr. Lamar, you'll take like another placement exam or something like that. And what it does, it identifies areas that you're weak in. And so it'll assign assignments, like if you're weak in factoring or whatever it is, it'll assign you things that are different than what we're talking about, but it's going to strengthen areas that you're weak in. Right. So her thing is totally separate than what we're doing.
Oh, gotcha. So I access that through Blackboard?
Yeah. When you log into Blackboard, on the left-hand panel, on the left-hand burgundy panel, there's going to be a link. I guess it's maroon because we're the maroons. But there's going to be a link that says, it's the second one that says Online Alex Lab. You want to just open that up, open up the syllabus and contact Dr. Lamar. She's the facilitator for that portion. And the lab, that portion, you basically just follow her instructions, and the grade that she provides for me for each of you counts for 10% of your overall grade.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. These are good questions. Any others before we go our separate ways? Going once, going twice. All right, gentlemen. So I think we have a sense of what we need to do. We're gonna go ahead and end the session here. We're gonna meet again back on Wednesday, same time, same place. If there aren't any other burning questions, let's end the session here. From one beautiful mind to another. Have a great day. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube. I'm going to go ahead and make this available. Take care, guys. See you Wednesday.
Well, I have a question. Can I ask you a question?
Yes. Is it okay that it's streamed on YouTube?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
So I wasn't here in the class last week, the first class, the Zoom class, because I was having like trouble joining, and
Okay.
I missed the lesson or whatever, and like how to access homework. So
Okay.
I was like confused on where I should go to access homework.
Is this Mr. Scott, right?
Yep.
let me mark you as excused for last week. Give me just a moment. Because it's just the first week jitters. Like that's kind of how it goes a lot of times.
Mhm.
Overall, and I think we only had one session, so it's okay. Let me
Yeah.
just real quick. I'll just do as excused. So no need to fret. As long as you're able to log into Blackboard. So if you log into Black here, you should be able to see my screen. Let me hop back. Right here. So let's hop over to Blackboard and take a quick tour of the main thing that you need. That's going to be here. I still got to log in. There it is. Blackboard. So when we log into Blackboard, our course is this one, online lab. So let me see. So this is our landing page. Basically, everything that you're looking for is right here. So for the lab portion on the left-hand side, just below course content, it says online Alex Lab syllabus and Zoom. So that's how you access the lab. And then for us is this main page. It says College Algebra 1 with online lab. We open that up. When we open this folder, I want to point you to my YouTube links, right? So this item number 4, if we open that up, this is what College Algebra 1. So my pre-recorded lectures for you all is that first link that says College Algebra 1. And then if you want to see, like, sit in on our recorded session from last week, that's going to be that bottom link where it says all courses for the fall of 23. So the pre-recorded lecture is the first link, and then for last week's session is that last link, right? So you really just need that first and last. You don't need that second one.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you can just watch that, and it'll have all the details of everything you need to do. And then basically, if we go back one part, everything is here, right? So how to access the Zoom is that first part. Once I'm gonna load everything you saw me writing in that folder number 2. My math lab is item number 3, and then my YouTube is item number 4. Okay. Yeah. Any other burning questions?
Wait, so the homework from last week is where?
In item number 3, where it says assignments.
Okay. Thank you.
My pleasure. Any other burning questions going once?
Yeah, I have one. So like, I just want to say I missed last week's class too because I had trouble signing in, but I sent you an email like the same day.
Christian, don't worry about it. Let me just update thing for right now. I think I gotta go like this. ABC, I want to mark them as excused. Yeah. So yeah, it's okay because it's obviously the first week and it's just trying to figure out how to get around everything. So
all right, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I think that's just about everybody. Okay. So again, if there aren't any other burning questions, you guys were awesome. Keep up the good work. We're going to end the session here from one beautiful mind to another. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to go ahead and make a PDF available of what we were just working on. Okay, guys, take care. Peace. Yeah, the average. Yeah.